Hi, my name is Andrew McLaren. We're going to talk about how to get students to ask good questions by essentially having them get some feedback throughout the year with their questions. So I'll show you some examples of assignments that you could give them, as well as the final portfolio rubric assignment where they pick their best ones. They put that in there, which you'll grade kind of throughout the year, and then they'll pick other questions to put in there to improve their scores. So it's kind of like this ongoing portfolio project with a bunch of little assignments. So I'll show you what those assignments look like, how to make that in Google Classroom, and how to actually provide feedback so they get better throughout the year. To improve students' ability to ask questions, the assignments that I like to use is a regular prompt that has a similar format that's slightly different each time, and then some sort of mastery assessment or portfolio of exemplars of their good questions. And so you're going to give them this prompt pretty regularly. Then they're going to pull from those and put them on the mastery assessment, which then gets submitted when it's ready to be graded. And then they can resubmit it with new questions if they're not happy with their score. And you can kind of do that throughout the whole year. So you can use the same assessment for different units, and then they just improve their score as they get to the next unit, right? So basically, what this looks like is that you've got some prompt. Maybe it's like read this article, then generate a couple questions. And I use 4 different categories. I'll explain those more very soon. But there's observation, investigation, challenge, and solution questions. And those 4 categories are like the categories of questions that they're going to be expected to be able to ask. They only have to pick one to share because, you know, not all of their questions are going to be great for sharing, or they may not want to share some of them. So it's kind of good to let them have some of that choice as to which ones they want to share, right? And then what I like to do is also provide this like sentence frame as well as the categories. This basically helps students think of questions to ask. So you can go along here and be like, oh, there was some sort of choice, and it happened at some sort of time, and this helps you get started with asking a question. So you might be able to ask a question about magnets. So it could be some sort of choice between larger and smaller magnets, and so you could be like, are all larger, smaller, or all larger magnets more powerful? You could do some sort of question like that, right? So this helps them kind of think about questions or like reasons why, you know. So you could have some sort of reason. It's a question, so you could ask something related to that. And then they should be getting something from these 4 different categories. These are pulled from the Appendix F of the NGSS. So if you look in there for the ask questions and you scroll way down, they break them down into a couple different categories, which basically is these 4. And then so the way I thought about this is that students should be able to ask a good observation question. So that's just like things that you're curious about the world that you could just see. It might not be an investigation that you designed. It just has to do more with that curiosity element. And then investigation, this has to do more with like actually thinking about an experiment and thinking about what you're going to need to do to prove that something was right or that your experiment happened the way you thought it was going to. And then, yeah, then you're going to have these like challenging questions, which is more about challenging someone else by asking a question, and then designing solutions. This is that engineering piece. So they should have one question for each of those categories, right? On the prompt. So each prompt, they've got 4 questions that they've made, one from each category. Okay. Then later in the year, they're going to pool a couple of these questions that they want you to grade. And so they're going to put those questions on the mastery assessment. So this is something that's assigned to them later. So you've got like maybe this is one day, and then this is like a week later or 2 weeks later or something like that, where they're pooling these questions. And so they're going to put the question on there, just give you a little context so you know what they're talking about. And they're going to need 2 examples for each category. So they're going to need like 2 observation questions, 2 investigation questions, 2 challenge questions, and 2 solution questions. And then if they want to include more, I gave them an extra slide so they could make more copies. and then a little space for you to do scoring on here. So like if you had 3 different assignments where students were generating questions, those could be like those 3 assignments there. And then if students wanted to add in other questions that they came up with later, they could add that in here. And then you've got all these different scores. You could make this be the average or the highest score. Check out my video on grading for equity on how you might combine all these scores in an equitable way, but it's kind of tricky. It kind of depends on the situation. But that's the idea, is that you're going to have some sort of samples that you're able to score and then able to give a final score for each of these categories. And there's the 4 main categories. So they get a score for asking questions by adding all those up. So if each one of these, I believe, was worth, yeah, 3 points, I made it on the rubric. So this is kind of like what the rubric looks like, but it looks better in Google Classroom. So I'll show you how to set it up in Google Classroom. But like, there's gonna be like for the observation category, there's 3 possible points. They get full points if they've got 2 good questions, right? If they've only got 1 good question, they get a good score. And if they've got 1 question but it's not really related, that'd be like weak, right? And so this general scoring is the same for all the categories. So they should have like 2 for each category, and they have to be related, essentially. So that's the main idea on the assignments. I want to show you also briefly the NGSS. You can see where this practice comes up if you look on their website, and you can search by this practice and middle school, or if you're in a different grade level. And this is going to tell you where that practice really is. And so if you're teaching middle school, you're definitely going to see this when you're doing engineering. Most states also have this in every single grade level, so you're probably going to see it there as well. This one, I think, was in 8th grade for me, so I did that at 8th grade with my students. These are definitely like 6th, 7th, and 8th for both of these. And then you can also add in some other questions to another PE that you're doing and have this just so you've got a couple more samples. To get this assignment in Google Classroom, it's pretty straightforward. Basically, you go to the classwork, and the prompts, you can just make that by making an assignment and linking the prompts. So you just like put the prompts as an attachment. I'll just show you that. Okay, so we've got the prompts right there. Gonna add that in. They are going to need to write on that themselves because they're typing on that. So that you would make that, obviously you need to write in the title. I would make this ungraded or worth very little points because it is just like the classwork. And then I would include this in the topic and have this like the asking questions SEP be one of the topics. So you can create a topic and type that in. I've already typed that in as asking questions. So I've got that labeled. It just makes it easier later in the year when they're trying to find these assignments if you have topics, because then it's organized by that topic, right? So you can make that there. You can assign a due date as well, and it should appear in that category. Now I've also got one for the assessment, but I wanted to show you, yeah, I've got the assessment, which I found in Google Drive. I've got my title. This one I am making worth 12 points because there's a rubric already on there. So I'll just make it from scratch so you can kind of see this. So I want it to be 12 points. We are going to do that as well. And then let's do the mastery assessment, right? Yeah, this is the assessment that we're doing now, making a copy for all students. It does want the title as well. So we got that there. And so basically you want to then make a rubric here. You can create the rubric, but I've already made it for you, so you don't need to do that. I will include this like in the import from Sheets so that you're just able to directly take the file and put it in there. So I think that I have, yeah, I think I already have this here. So you can just kind of import that like that. And that should get saved. And you've got your rubric in there. Nice and easy. And then when you've actually got this in here, it's very, very nice for actually grading it. But that's all you need to do to actually make it. To efficiently provide feedback, I would do this assignment in Google Classroom using a rubric and the comment bank. So I'll show you what that looks like. So in the last section of the video, I showed you how to make this assignment. But now if you click on some students' work, so if you're on some assignment and you click on that assessment and you click on the student's work, you can then grade the work in here using a comment bank. And then this question right here, you can see is already in my comment bank. And these are a ton of things. Unfortunately, Google Classroom just has one comment bank for all assignments, so it's kind of annoying. But I really do like the comment bank because you can highlight a specific question, click on the comment, and then you can start typing out one of the words that's in the sentence, and the comment should pop up. So you can kind of see how that, if you keep on saying the same thing, that saves you a lot of time. Now, I've only got 2 questions, like comments for this type of assessment right now. But to be honest, I think that I'm going to use the rubric more on these ones. So if you click on Google Classroom, the rubric should just pop up here on the side. You can make it be its own pop-up window, but then it's very easy to grade these just by like kind of clicking them on here, and students can see these very easily on the assignment. It's very, very handy. And then it also auto grades you. So if you put in the points as 12, which I did, and I knew that the rubric had 12 points, it just automatically grades it for you. So it's kind of nice in that regard, and it's very clear in Google Classroom what part's what for the student. So I would highly recommend that you use that for grading efficiently with these types of assignments. All right, thank you. Bye. Thank you for McLearning with me. I've got a few more offers that I'd like to let you know about, and remember, like and subscribe. For each video on YouTube, I am making an interactive version using HP5. These will be for sale on Podia, and if you click on the link in the video, you should be able to go directly to that product. I also have 2 demos I'm going to be linking so you can kind of see what these products look like. So I would recommend checking out those demos. I also offer one-on-one remote tutoring through Wyzant. Please use the links that I have linked below. That way I can get 100% of the hourly rate as opposed to 75. Each video also has a link for my Patreon, and you can join at the $3 level to get some resources I use for tutoring or to support the channel. And I also have a $5 raffle level, which you could either get some free online tutoring or 5 interactive lessons for free. You choose which ones. And then I also have my Teachers Pay Teachers, which has some old lessons that I made from when I used to be a teacher. I may be adding to that. Thank you for spending your time with me. I hope that you learned something.